On a barren mountainside deep inside the Arctic Circle, a slab of concrete juts out of the snow. It is angular, deliberate, and utterly alien against the white nothing that surrounds it. At night, a strip of light glows along its crest, a faint pulse of human intention in one of the emptiest places on Earth. There are no fences worth mentioning, no guards patrolling the ridge. Just a wedge of reinforced concrete driven into the flank of a frozen mountain, and behind it, sealed in the dark, sits the ultimate backup drive for human agriculture. This is the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, and everything about it was engineered around a single chilling premise: that one day, something might go catastrophically wrong for the rest of the world, and this place would need to survive it. Inside, the vault holds duplicates of the seeds that feed civilization: rice, wheat, maize, beans. Hundreds of thousands of distinct varieties, each one a genetic insurance policy against blight, war, famine, or collapse. If a national seed bank is destroyed, whether by a bomb, a flood, or a simple funding failure, this is where the withdrawal is made. It is a library of the entire food supply of our species, and the engineers who built it were not designing for the next 50 years. They were designing for the next 1,000, which is exactly why they came here. The choice of Svalbard was not romantic. It was ruthless calculation. This remote Norwegian archipelago sits more than 1,000 kilometers north of the mainland, and almost every property that makes it hostile to human life makes it perfect for preserving seeds. Start with the geology. Svalbard lies on a tectonically dead zone. There are no active fault lines running beneath it, no major earthquakes to crack a vault open or bury it under rubble. The rock here is stable in the deepest sense of the word. It simply does not move. Then there is the elevation. The vault entrance was positioned roughly 130 meters above sea level, high enough that even in the most extreme climate models, where every glacier and ice sheet on the planet melts, the rising ocean still could not reach it. And finally, the cold. Svalbard is locked in permafrost, ground that has stayed frozen for thousands of years and, crucially, is expected to remain frozen for thousands more. That permafrost is not just a feature of the site, it is the beating heart of the entire design. Remote enough to be safe, stable enough to be permanent, cold enough to become its own machine. On paper, no better place exists. But choosing the mountain was the easy part. Getting inside it was brutal. To build the vault, engineers had to bore straight into solid rock, driving a tunnel more than 100 meters horizontally into the mountainside. And this was not ordinary excavation. They were blasting through a mixture of stone and permafrost, frozen ground as hard as concrete, in temperatures that swing far below zero for most of the year. Every charge had to be calculated with surgical care. Blast too aggressively, and you risk fracturing the surrounding rock, destabilizing the very mountain you are relying on to protect the seeds for centuries. The whole point was to hollow out a fortress without weakening the walls that make it a fortress. The construction window was punishingly short, dictated by the Arctic seasons and the relentless dark. Crews worked to carve out the access tunnel and the vault chambers deep inside, then lined and reinforced them, sealing the interior off from the outside world. When they were finished, the seeds would rest in rooms buried far enough inside the rock that the mountain itself became the primary shield, and the temperature underground was governed not by the weather at the door, but by the ancient cold of the permafrost pressing in from every direction. And that leads to the single most audacious idea behind this entire structure: passive survivability. Most critical facilities depend on power, on pumps, on cooling systems, on human beings showing up to maintain them. The Svalbard Vault was designed to need none of that. The long entrance tunnel is a deliberate defensive corridor, built to absorb and dissipate shock, engineered to withstand explosive force and the impact of a changing surface without transmitting that violence to the vault chambers deep within. It is less a hallway and more a blast buffer. But the real genius is the cooling. Refrigeration units chill the seed chambers down to around -18 degrees Celsius, the optimal temperature for long-term storage. Yet here is the fail-safe that makes this place extraordinary. If the power grid died tomorrow, if every generator failed and every engineer vanished, the vault would not warm up and rot. The surrounding permafrost would simply take over. The natural temperature of the frozen rock would hold the chambers well below freezing entirely on its own, keeping the seeds viable for decades, potentially centuries, with no electricity, no maintenance, and no human hand at all. The mountain becomes the refrigerator. Nature does the work. It was meant to be zero-maintenance immortality. And then, in 2017, nature reminded everyone who was really in charge. That year, unusually high temperatures and heavy melt sent water surging into the outer section of the entrance tunnel. The permafrost near the mouth of the vault, the ground engineers had trusted to stay frozen, thawed just enough to let meltwater pour in. The water refroze inside the tunnel, and suddenly the Doomsday Vault built to survive the apocalypse had sprung a leak on an ordinary spring day. The seeds themselves were never in danger, protected deep inside the mountain. But the breach was a warning. It exposed a hard truth, that a warming climate could attack the very permafrost the design depended on. So the engineers adapted. They tore into the problem, waterproofing the tunnel, adding drainage ditches to channel meltwater away from the entrance, and constructing barriers to keep the water out for good. They upgraded the fortress to fight an enemy the original blueprints had underestimated. Even a vault built to outlast civilization, it turned out, still has to negotiate with the weather. And maybe that is the most profound thing about this place. We build almost everything with ourselves in mind, structures meant to serve the people alive to use them. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault is different. It is one of the rare things humanity has ever built that is explicitly designed to outlast us. A sealed promise buried in the ice, waiting patiently in the dark for a future that may not include the civilization that created it. A monument not to who we are, but to the hope that something of us endures. If you found the engineering behind this frozen fortress as gripping as we did, subscribe to the Engineering Edge, and we'll keep taking you inside the structures pushing the limits of what humans can build.